Well, when the cotton mills close, when the jobs disappear, when the industry that's been your town's lifeblood for generations suddenly collapses, what happens next? Starting tonight, PBS Charlotte looks at the history and the future of Carolina textile towns and how they're surviving since all those textile jobs moved overseas in the 80s and the 90s. We're calling our special series Textile Towns Remade in the Carolinas. Carolina Impact's Jeff Saunier brings us this report from Iredell County.
Yeah, we're out here on Lake Norman in the town of Mooresville, which calls itself Race City, USA. Dozens of NASCAR teams relocating here for the same reasons others move here, attracted by the lake itself and by all that new growth springing up around the lake. But before there was NASCAR, or heck, even before there was a lake, Mooresville was mostly a textile town.
They say every town has its main street. Well, this is ours.
The video is from 1938 in a part of town they call Old Mooresville today.
Our fathers and mothers in our hometown are just plain nice living folks, the kind you read about in storybooks. You know, Main Street folks who say, "Hello, nice morning."
We had 6 or 7 mills here and everybody worked at one of them, just about, except the business people run the businesses.
Jack Moore runs the hardware business in Old Mooresville, Turner & Company. 71 years at the same store, where Moore started working at age 15.
Well, I got a bracket, and you put it on the inside.
On the inside of it, right.
Moore says his store hasn't changed much. But Mooresville, the textile town, sure has.
We have a diversified group of industries within the area of our town, providing a background of stability and assurance of permanent employment with good incomes for the future.
We had Templon, we had Kimspun, we had Draymore, we had Burlington Mills, we had Cascade, all the mills. They're all gone. A lot of people have worked in the mills all their life, and it hurts when you lose your job. Now the mill has shut down. It's the only life I know.
Moore's own dad worked here at Mooresville Mills for 50 years. But when this plant, which later became Burlington Mills, was the last factory to finally close in 1999, Mooresville's biggest employer, over time, became Mooresville's biggest eyesore.
As it flows through the town, weave and spin, weave and spin.
They were thinking to knock it down completely.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah, it was really bad. Flooring was messed up, the roofing was leaking from 282 different spots. And some of the flooring, you could step on it, maybe you could go to the basement.
That was 6 years ago, when Michael Bay bought this turn-of-the-century mill on Main Street, sight unseen, not even knowing where Mooresville was.
But the building itself, if you look at it, it has so much solid character and also built so solid. Some of the walls are 2 feet and is really much stronger than the new buildings today you build it. And it had just an amazing, nice feeling to me.
Bay talks about his Mooresville Mill project in the same room where mill employees used to check bolts of fabric for defects, before the fabric was sold at the Mooresville Belk store down the street, along with the mill's famous Turkish towel.
And I love keeping it so original because I think it has so much more character and it's much more interesting.
The mill's first floor is almost a mile of mostly retail and new restaurants, with a warehouse and distribution center below. The second floor houses corporate offices with the same huge windows, exposed brick walls, and the original factory floors. And outdoors, there are more mill buildings, including this massive old power plant. Down here in the foundations, you can see why these mill buildings lasted so long, but you can also see why they'd be so hard to renovate today.
They're all very unique because thousands of people work in every single mill and they build their life. They got married, they got engaged, they fell in love, they worked, they made a house. Every mill is very unique itself.
Oh yes, because people forget, it's not just the building. That's the community, that's the history. I mean, they're the reason we have the ballpark, the Mooresville Moors. They're the reason that we had the community houses.
The clock ticking in Andy Poore's office at the Mooresville Library is as old as Mooresville itself.
The mill actually sits down in there.
Poore is a town historian, helping preserve old photos and films, and yes, factories, before they're forgotten.
You think, oh, well, there's the mill. Well, you don't really realize that that mill is the town, is the community. So when it closes, it's like losing a member of the family. It's like losing a limb of your body when they close.
But as the old mills in Mooresville make their slow comeback, so do the stores here on Main Street. Maybe not quite as busy as it used to be, but busy enough, according to the old-timers, the ones who were here back then and are still here now. You know, just like Mooresville.
Oh yeah, people come to town and some of them go 3 or 4 or 5 stores before they go back home on Main Street.
So don't worry about Mooresville, you're going to do fine here.
I think Moore's going to do fine.
Happy to have Jeff in the studio with me now to tell us all about what's coming up on this special series.
Yeah, every town we visit, every story we do is kind of an education. It's enjoyable too because there's so much history, so much tradition connected with these textile towns. Next stop, by the way, is McAdenville. Everybody knows McAdenville during the Christmas season and the lights there, but you know, 11 months out of the year, McAdenville is a textile town, and we'll show you how the town itself is bringing new people in to experience that textile town life, and how the mill there is actually hiring people and keeping people on the job thanks to technology and some hardworking and dedicated owners in McAdenville.
But you're going to head over the border and almost hit every county throughout our region with this series first, but then we're going to turn it into a documentary.
Right, North Carolina and South Carolina. We'll go south to Rock Hill, Fort Mill, Lancaster to talk about their rich history in the textile business. Belmont. They've got a thriving restaurant district in downtown that in many ways is better than it was back when the textile business was big in Belmont. We'll head to Lincolnton. That's where the original North Carolina textile mill started, and they've got their own struggles today with trying to keep their textile mills alive. Concord and Kannapolis. That's a tough one because Cannon Mills was such a large part of that community's history and its economy, and they've struggled in some ways, and they've also been very innovative in some ways. We'll take a look at how their efforts are going. Again, there are so many textile towns, so many stories to tell. Textile and cotton farmers in Union and Stanley County. We'll visit them, see how they're doing in relation to the textile industry. Hopefully the folks watching the stories will enjoy them as much as we've enjoyed doing the stories.
Well, Jeff, we always enjoy watching your stories, and I look forward to seeing this series of reports. Thanks so much for all you do.
Thank you.